bizarre scrapped Matt Riddle WWE plans have been leaked. We've got the original plans for DIY's reunion and the current Brian Pillman Jr. NXT plans too. There's a lot of plans. Let's have a look at the news.
So recently, over the past week, we've been speaking a little bit about Matt Riddle and sort of other companies since his departure from WWE, wanting maybe to pick up the boy and add him into their roster of delights.
There's a lot of interest, apparently, both from pro wrestling companies as well as MMA companies. So it'll be interesting to see what he does next. This is bonkers, isn't it?
This is bonkers.
I mean, one part of this is bonkers. WrestleVotes tweeting yesterday saying that they had significant plans. WWE had significant plans for Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre, saying prior to his departure from the company, I'm told there were significant plans for a Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre tag team. Okay, cool. They were hinting in that direction. Yeah, sure. So much so, various merchandise items were designed with the team name, wait for it, McRiddle. This is not a joke. That's their words, not mine. McRiddle. So the McGriddle is a thing in the United States. We don't have it here. I believe it's a breakfast item at McDonald's. I think it's some kind of meat sandwich. So they were going with McRiddle. So it's Matt Riddle in another tag team, sure, okay. To me, the biggest story here is that if they were doing that with Drew McIntyre, sure they were significant plans, but significant plans in the tag division, you would believe, that probably means that he's not a priority right now. If they were going to just throw him in a tag team with Riddle,
you'd have thought so, right?
I don't think that's a very good indication of what's in store for Drew McIntyre.
I don't think it was a good indication for what could have been in store for Drew McIntyre. Okay. Because I feel like they do have bigger overarching plans for him now with this slow heel turn.
Raw would suggest so, that's fair.
Him calling out, well, not calling out, but certainly hinting towards perhaps doing a program with Cody Rhodes somewhere down the line because he brought in Jey Uso to Monday Night Raw. I think, and it sounds, it's horrible when anybody gets released from their job and their point of work, but for Drew McIntyre, it could have been almost like a blessing in disguise for him now to go on and do something that we've all been speaking about for the longest time, some sort of character change and something different for him. I don't think I would have been into McRiddle. I know we haven't seen, we didn't really get to a point where we saw the height of potential of McRiddle.
No, we didn't.
But I'm more sort of
You're optimistic about Drew.
Drew at the moment.
That's good. I really hope you're right there. Maybe I jumped the gun a little bit there. And I will say, like with McRiddle, initially with Rated RKO, I wasn't fussed at all. I didn't like it. I didn't like the pairing, and it really grew on me. And they did some really good stuff together. So who's to say that McRiddle wouldn't have been a roaring, sizzling success?
Do you think they would have released a sandwich?
Well, like punk ice cream bars sort of thing.
Do you know what? They probably would have done, I reckon, down the line.
No, they wouldn't, because it wouldn't have got over. Nobody would have won one. Because it's gash, isn't it?
Everybody wants a McRiddle. Everybody wants a McRiddle.
Somebody's come up with that name in the creative room, and they go, "Oh, that's funny. Yeah, do it. Boys, do it." Two guys, it could be massive. Yeah, just put in a tag team.
Just picture everybody. Go on. Anyway,
Drew's face when he heard that would have been a picture.
We also have some more sort of scrap plans, some original plans for DIY. Recently, Johnny Gargano returned this week on Raw to save his bro Chad show, Tommaso Ciampa, from getting a beat down from Imperium. Fightful Select has provided an update on original plans for the duo. They mentioned that during this past summer, there were active intentions to bring DIY back together on WWE TV.
They hinted at it, didn't they?
They hinted at it multiple times. Yeah. These intentions were hinted at during episodes of Raw. However, like many other stories, during that time, this plan was ultimately scrapped and abandoned. Now, the June 19th edition of Raw underwent several creative alterations, one of which included a scheduled World Heavyweight Championship Open Challenge, which featured Seth Rollins. Initially, Tommaso Ciampa was set to accept this challenge, but there's more to the story now, obviously.
I watched this back because I couldn't remember the specific Raw episode.
Yeah.
Seth comes to the ring, he gets attacked from behind by Judgment Day Finn Balor. But the original plan was for Tommaso Ciampa to answer that open challenge.
Yep.
And then Johnny Gargano was going to come out afterwards, and it helped. It was in his hometown of Cleveland. He was going to make a dramatic return there. That obviously didn't go ahead. Instead, we got I think fairly muted return, especially as crowd involvement goes. On this Monday's Raw, I was a little bit disappointed by the return. Actually, it's cool to see him back. DIY, they can do great stuff together, obviously, but they picked the wrong moment, and this was like 4 odd months ago. More.
Yeah.
What are we in October? A long time ago.
A long time ago. It feels like the right moment would have been that moment that got scrapped. Cleveland.
Yeah.
The pop there, like Cleveland loves Johnny Gargano, as we've seen before in takeovers and everything as well. Like they just absolutely love him, and rightly so as well. But I guess like his positioning on the Raw card though, at the same time, it wasn't super high. I still think he was to get over with the main roster crowd a little bit more. But introducing it in Cleveland would have been like a pop that I think, you know, he would have deserved, rightfully.
Yeah.
And would have made a bit more of an impact than what we saw on Monday.
Early days, isn't it?
Early days.
I'm still kind of optimistic about it. Sort of Gargano and Ciampa teaming together on the main roster and then building to an eventual singles feud. The rinse and repeat of NXT, obviously.
I reckon so.
I think we'll get there. I just think, I wish it had happened earlier.
Yeah, me
Instead,
too.
Johnny Gargano was dicking about with Omos on house shows, getting beat. He's good to go. All right, anyway.
Bless him. Right, we're moving over to NXT. And in an update from House of Wrestling, when asking if Brian Pillman Jr. will make his debut on next week's episode of NXT, obviously they are stacking it to go sort of head-to-head with AEW's Title Tuesday. The belief is, though, that the brand has not discussed any real plans for Pillman Jr. beyond the ongoing buzzy vignettes. We see someone sat sort of backstage watching a TV, old clips of WCW and
the shirt
different. On. Yeah, the shirt got like the tiger shirt and everything on. I think it's better not to just to throw him in. I mean, NXT is stacked this coming week. We've got Asuka, Cody, Cena, Paul Heyman. I think Pillman Jr., if he was to sort of arrive on that specific episode of NXT, might get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
I think there are two ways of looking at that, and one of them is him getting overshadowed, lost in the shuffle. The other is they've given him the privilege of debuting on a really big episode of NXT.
That's true as well, actually.
But I think you're probably right. He would. Yeah. People would be talking about Cena and Heyman and Asuka, all the other people that are there. So you're probably right. The fact that they've started airing these vignettes with seemingly no plan for him, is a little bit troubling.
Bit of a weird one, isn't it?
It is a bit of a weird one,
However,
but they're open-ended enough. He's not doing anything specific, is he? He's
that's
just
very
watching.
true.
So there's a hint at what his character is going to be, aka the son of Brian Pillman.
Yeah.
They'll figure something out. They've got weeks, haven't they?
They've got weeks, and I'm glad they're not just like, throwing him out there as soon as if they've not got anything sort of substantial.
They're making a bit of a deal of him, aren't they?
Which is good.
He's coming in. I really like Pillman.
I like him as well.
I think he stood out in AEW, and people don't tend to agree with me because I've always bigged him up. I just think he's really solid in the ring, and I think there's a lot to work with there.
Yes.
And I think he's not there yet, but in a few years, I actually think it'll be quite a big deal.
I agree. Well, moving on to the final story, another wrestling legend is in the headlines as they've given like heaps of praise to a current WWE star, and I think it's rightly deserved as well.
Right, I wanted to include this because I just thought it was a really awesome story. I love Mickie James anyway, and she's been bigging up massively Dominik Mysterio, chatting away on Busted Open Radio, saying Dom is incredible. I know he's a bad guy and we're supposed to hate him. I'm going, where did he train? It's not like we watched Dominik on the Independents or in a smaller organization where we knew Dom was training to be a wrestler prior to showing up on WWE TV. I still look at Dom and I love him so much. He's quietly a student of the game. He's been around the business his whole life, but I never heard Dom training to be a wrestler or anything like that. To think that he's quietly been training this whole time prior to coming to TV and no one knew what to expect for when he was going to be a wrestler, and he's just completely killed it. The natural ability, the little things that you can see him doing that looks like he's a 10 or 20 year veteran out there, a lot of his euphemisms and body language, all these little things, we're going to look back as we do in wrestling 10 years from now and you're going to say Dominik Mysterio is one of the greats, and it's crazy to think about. Look how much he has, he's really great. And I don't really love to say that about young talent. I'm just like, he's so damn good. And if he's already this good now, what can we expect to see from Dominik Mysterio? He's just scratching the surface. I think it's nice to include stuff where props are rightly given, because when Dom came in, we saw him do the stuff like initially the Ray and Lesnar bits here and there. It's like, he can do some cool moves. That's awesome. But actually, he's proven that he can hold together a match, do the storytelling side of things, and he is. He's better than his years would suggest. She's totally right, and he's not had the experience before.
No, and that's it. I think he's really held his own. I think he's done, WWE have done the perfect thing in taking him away from doing stuff with Ray recently. And I think his recent match at No Mercy goes to show that he can absolutely put on a tremendous match. Yeah, and as Mickey says, only scratching the surface. We've not really had Dom in the company for that long, and he's already doing great stuff as it is now.
He is. The one thing is, like, I wasn't convinced when I initially saw him that his character work would be all that. I'm so glad to be proven wrong.
Yeah,
because he's awesome. He's really, really great. And he seems like a lovely bloke.
He does.
Away from the screen, obviously. So I think he will have a really decent career. I think he's going to do really great things, and I think it's going to be a slow burn. I expect to see him doing it for 15, 20 odd years. He loves it as well. Bloody loves it.
He bloody loves it. And do you know what we love, everybody? We love wrestling news and wrestling. If you want to...
All right, we do.
Yeah, you did. There'll be another news video, I'm sure, later on today. However, the wrestling does not stop as we are heading towards Fastlane this Saturday night. You can catch our pitches, our predictions, the podcast, a live stream tomorrow night, youtube.com/cultaholic/live.
Correct.
For our live reacts with myself and Adam here. You'll have what happened at WTF as well, not too long after the show airs. But until then, stick with us. Thank you very much for sticking with us, and we'll see you again very soon.